From the MMA Unshow. What just happened?
What's up, MMA Unshow listeners? Nick here. We have another rendition of What Just Happened. This one's coming to you with a little bit different mood than last time. A little bit of I would say a downer in general. UFC 264 was. It was exciting. Things happened, but it was, all in all, shite. It was shite. So I'm going to try to keep this to 20-ish minutes. Not a long fight to break down, so I'll just start with the walkouts, which I normally probably won't do, but since it lasted a round, we'll kind of go into maybe kind of what the temperament was, or what I think anyways. It's hard to tell. McGregor's walkout, intense, focused. Rogan said on the broadcast that he looked angry, which I think is accurate, as compared to how he would normally look on a walkout. Definitely the swagger was there. Like, the first strut was really good. And he looked, loose-ish, but then also kind of pissed at times, especially when Dustin came out. He started acting weird when Dustin came out. Poirier, kind of similar to Conor, almost kind of mirrored his energy, especially right when he got in the cage. They kind of had to be separated, which, like, you don't know how legit that is. But it was interesting and probably worth noting that they had to have people come between them. That doesn't always happen. The fighter announcements, the crowd was up for it. You'll have to see it. One of the louder crowds I've heard in, like, any sport event since the crowds have kind of started to trickle back in. They were rocking. They were booing Poirier, which I thought was weird. I didn't expect that at either. I thought Conor would get a pop for sure because he's Conor, and then I thought Poirier would kind of also get a pop, but he was definitely getting booed. I'm not imagining that, am I?
I don't remember.
So it wasn't memorable to you. I guess it was kind of loud here though, so it was kind of hard to hear. Yeah, I thought pretty clearly they were booing. McGregor looked kind of pissed at the stare down, and also his body language again was very odd. I thought he was just moving around a lot, and he did this kind of like half-ass strut and didn't do the like kiss his hands and spread his arms thing that he normally does, which again, this could mean absolutely nothing, but I like to pay attention to these weird details and share them with you on the internet. Oh, strange. What a strange world we live in. Yeah, Conor did this kind of weird spin thing too. When you rewatch it, you'll see all of these things and you'll be like, Nick was right. He was being weird. Okay, so into the fight. I thought right before the fight started, Rogan said, we have the first round fight and then we have the rest of the fight, which I thought was indicative of how the fight, I think, was actually going to play out. I think Rogan is right. I think Poirier got it done pretty easily in the first round. He won the round fairly easily. Not completely, like, it wasn't a 10-8, and I'll talk more about that, but looked good, won the round pretty easily. So for me, I just to say it now, I think had the fight continued, in my opinion, Poirier would have gone on to win the fight and probably finish McGregor. But I don't know. We'll never know. 458. Again, if you haven't listened to one of these before, because I've only done one, so it's very, very possible. The time notations are for the amount showing on the fight clock. So if I say a time, I'm referencing like what it said actually on the clock, not like into the round. So if you want to find the things that I'm saying, it's pretty easy to do. Okay. McGregor opens with spinning back kick to the body, feints the hips, throws another one. The second one was partially blocked. The first one landed pretty flush. So interesting opening. And this whole opening from McGregor for the first like minute or so is kind of interesting because he's kicking a ton, which he did not do a whole lot of in the first fight. 450 mark, McGregor leg kick lands pretty flush. Dustin really acknowledged it, which I thought was interesting. He was kind of given like a, okay, like he's doing something different. All right. He's like a little pity clap almost. The look that he gave him was funny. His just off the topic, his mannerisms in the cage are hilarious. Poirier's. It's so funny to watch. Where are we? 438. McGregor's just kind of feinting and angling. Looks really bouncy. Looks good early. Looks kind of like featherweight Conor. With all the kicks, with just kind of this... Again, everybody made such a big deal out of this stance. His stance never really changed, guys. It's just a like weight distribution thing and like what he was actually doing with his feet. It was such a bad take. Whatever. He was real bouncy and looked good. So again, the first 6 strikes that Conor McGregor throws are kicks. 5 of the 6 land, including the last being a teep around the 438 mark. Conor then steps in, fires a straight left punch, which lands and backs deep into the cage. And then at that point, which again, we're pretty early, and that's the first punch McGregor's thrown. Some of the fastest hands in the UFC. Poirier just barely misses with a counter hook, which tells me Poirier might just kind of have this dude's timing figured out in a way that kind of nobody else, because he literally just missed, and then the next time they had a boxing exchange, dominated the exchange, which is interesting. 420 mark, Conor's throwing more kicks. So Conor, in terms of range control, Conor's doing really, really well at kick range. Really well. Poirier's a little confused here, actually. Not too long. I think it's... Yeah, so 10 of the first 11, as far as my count, were kicks. At the 414 mark, Conor times it 1-2 pretty well, just misses the left hand, and now Poirier's really reaching down for those leg kicks at this point. So he's thinking about them, which is interesting. Again, we didn't get to see how that played out. He picked a different route. Conor picked a different route, which was an interesting decision. I don't know that was a good decision, but that was the decision that he selected. 408 mark. Poirier lands a glancing right hand from orthodox, and for the first time in the round, backs McGregor up a little bit. So a nice shot, commented well here by, I think Rogan called that he switched to orthodox for that shot, which is something that he sets up with kick sometimes, and to great effect. Poirier's footwork and uniqueness in it is underrated, I would say. He gets himself into good positions to land in lots of different ways. And this was a great example. I would go back and watch it if you missed it the first time. 356 mark, McGregor lands another clean leg kick by my count. I think he had 5 or so there that landed pretty flush. Mostly thigh, maybe a little bit of calf. It was sort of hard to tell. The angles it's just difficult to tell where the cameras are placed, whether it lands calf or thigh a lot of times. 338, McGregor times another 1-2. DP takes those shots pretty well. 335 mark, Poirier lands a 2-3. McGregor takes those shots well, counters with a knee to the body. And this was sort of the beginning of that flurry. Poirier lands a straight left hand that definitely backed McGregor up good. Probably the hardest shot of the round, at least in terms of the exchanges on the feet. 331, Poirier lands a jab and a left uppercut. It's nice. In real time, I thought it was super impactful. I thought he hurt him pretty bad there. When I watched it back, I don't think he hurt him that bad. Or, like in terms of, like we were talking about like buzzed and hurt, and like we have all these interchangeable words that don't really mean anything. Like if it was on a scale of 0 to 10, like 0 you're unconscious and 10 you're fully conscious, he was probably still like, I don't know, like a 7. He didn't look, you know what I mean? Like it looked worse live though, because the crowd's going nuts. Rogan and DC are going nuts. He took a step backwards for the first, or like through the second time maybe. And then comes in and clinches, which to me, the fact that he clinches and then throws a knee to the body shows that he probably wasn't that hurt. But nonetheless, really nice boxing exchange from Poirier. Conor wears it fine, in my opinion. And then again, steps in, lands a knee to the body. And this is where the fight really turned. Poirier has double unders at this point, kind of pushes the clinch into the fence and starts looking for a double leg immediately. And Conor kind of had this expression initially like, man, like I didn't think this was going to be going this way. Like, I told myself not to get in this exact position where I'm having to defend a takedown because it's exhausting and it's not fun at all. And my offense is not going to be, not to say that Conor can't defend a takedown. Conor can defend the shit out of a takedown. But he just had a look on his face like he just would rather have been anywhere else in the world for a sec. He shifted his focus, I thought, at least so there was about a 12-second gap there before it's very clear Conor's looking for that guillotine when he first gets kind of shoved into the cage. That was the point, at least I thought, was around 310 where Conor's clearly looking for some kind of choke. The 303 mark, Poirier pulls away for a single and then very quickly realizes he needs to deal with this choke, which I thought was interesting. And this is another thing that hasn't really been discussed, just this whole little sequence here. So Poirier realizes he has to deal with the guillotine. Conor kind of slowly drops. It was an interesting drop. Like, a lot of times you see desperation guillotine throws and they end up like knocking you out of position and you just lose the choke. And Conor didn't do that. I thought that was fairly composed on his behalf. And, you know, nobody ever talks about his jiu-jitsu because he doesn't use it at all, but maybe he's good at jiu-jitsu. Maybe he has a great guillotine. I don't know. Conor at this point doesn't have any control of Poirier's legs, but it's clear that like Poirier needs to do something to deal with this. So Poirier tripods and then definitely walks up the fence to get himself to a better position. Do I think Conor finishes the choke if Poirier... First of all, do I know that Poirier put his toes in the fence? I guess not. I guess I can't definitively say he put his toes in the fence in an illegal way, but it really looked like he did. It really looked like he put his toes in the fence and illegally put himself in. And I'm saying this completely objectively. That is a thing that happened. Did it change the outcome of the fight? I have no idea. Would Conor have finished the choke? I don't think so. I think Poirier's jiu-jitsu is too good. But did Poirier in that moment do something that you're not supposed to be able to do? Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure. Nobody's talking about it. That's fine. So that's about the 256 mark. By 245, he's out of the choke. There's no threat there at all anymore. And Conor's kind of resigned himself to try to get back to guard. And he's kind of getting stacked here too. He's just in a really bad place. He's kind of got his head teed up against the cage. Just not a good spot for anyone, much less being underneath a dude that is as vicious on the ground as Dustin Poirier is. It's just not a great place to be. 212 mark. So you got about 30 seconds there with really no action. Just kind of fighting for position. Poirier threw in like maybe little shots, but anything heavy I have notated here. So 212 mark, Poirier lands a heavy elbow. Conor's kind of using butterflies at this point to create space, which actually kind of sets up what happens at 154, where McGregor actually lands a series of elbows off his back, really good shots. He wasn't totally defenseless down there. 142, Poirier throws 4 or 5 elbows, some of them off the guard, some of them landing clean. This was a great sequence for Poirier. The 120 mark, Poirier postures and lands a right hand kind of on Conor's ear. I think this is when Conor's cauliflower, I guess it was his left side, when his cauliflower broke open. Not great. The 105 mark, Poirier throws kind of another flurry. A lot of it, again, is off the guard, but he does land a big right hand at the end. McGregor seems to take that shot pretty well. He looked pretty with it after that shot, which tells me, he probably wasn't too close to getting TKO'd in that sequence. I don't think it was that close. And this is, I think, where, the up kick. So this is another interesting thing. Conor lands an up kick that looks exactly the same as the up kick from the Yuri Prohaska Dominic Reyes fight. Looks exactly the same. Do I think he hurt Dustin? No, not really. It landed, but I don't think he hurt him. But it's just interesting how certain pieces of the narrative get left out just because it's Conor. It's so interesting. I don't know. I don't get it. Again, do I think that the upkick hurt him? No, not really. But it looked pretty damn similar. The 38-second mark. was, I think, probably when the commentary team kind of freaked out the most for no reason. Dustin's dropping bombs. Herb's getting close. Herb was not getting close. In that particular sequence, every single shot was off the guard. It's just not great commentating. Maybe they can't see. I don't know. Not great. Great round for Dustin, by the way. It sounds like I'm like hating on the round. No, I'm just trying to bring it back to baseline. Fantastic 10-9 round. There's no chance that's a 10-8. And I think, just to get a little ahead of ourselves, I think they called the 10-8 because when Conor's leg broke, they thought it was a knockdown. We kind of thought it was a knockdown. Watching it live, the punch clearly didn't land. That led to Conor going down at the very end of the round. So maybe it was a 10-9 up until that. And then that was enough to swing it, I guess, because they thought it was a knockdown, which would make sense. Okay, getting close. 27. McGregor kind of reaching for a guillotine again. Is not really doing anything. I think he's just kind of trying to get out of the round. He's got 27 seconds left. I think he wanted to just stay there for the rest of the round and should have stayed there for the rest of the round, as it turned out. 15 seconds. McGregor clearly grabbing Poirier's gloves, which is, I mean, he like made a joke about it on the internet, and it's just kind of scummy. He's just kind of par for the course right at the moment. Then 10 seconds is what I'm referring to as the elbow kick. That is the kick that lands, that supposedly is the one that does the damage. I didn't really think that was the case. And it certainly wasn't clear enough to be just spreading around the internet to millions of people. Probably. But here we are. 7 seconds, McGregor shuffles on his apparently broken ankle. Impressive. And throws a 1-2. Both of the punches, I'm pretty sure, miss. I think the jab miss. I know the left hand miss because both fighters kind of miss straight lefts at about the same time. Conor steps back and the leg breaks around the 7-second mark. Then Poirier ends the round on top. Doesn't do. I don't know if he even really landed anything in that last little sequence. Yeah, and at that point, it's very clear that the fight is not going to continue for any longer. The post-fight was an absolute mess. Absolute disaster piece. The decision to interview McGregor it should go down as an all-time bad broadcast decision. Like, all-time bad. The visual was, like, it was this circus. Rogan's, like, sitting on the cage, like, he's got, like, his arm around him or something, right? Yeah. The visual was just ridiculous, dude. I don't know, man. It's moments like this that I'm just like, this sport that I love so much still has to figure some things out. Because that was not a good look. The interviews were bad. You know, I think Poirier helped his stock being kind of a dick? Not really. Not really. Do I think it'll really hurt him? No.
He missed an opportunity to be.
Yes. He missed the opportunity to be like the coolest guy ever. And he doesn't even have to be nice. He just has to he has to ignore Conor or say like, look, man, if he wants to get beat for a third time, tell him to heel his leg up, we'll run it back. Tell him to call me with a bag. Say that. Don't talk about breaking his other leg and like, especially if you're saying it's not even, like he said, it's like, it's not even about my wife, which was the thing that people were the most up in arms about because everyone's super I don't know.
All the people who hate Conor, like their favorite thing about hating Conor is they feel like they're better than
Oh, it's like the moral superiority thing.
So if he would have just played that, if he would have been morally superior.
Yeah, he should have been actually morally superior,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's just a better look. He can do whatever he wants. He's a grown man, and I'm not going to like hold it against him.
From a marketing standpoint.
But yeah, from like if I'm his manager, like, dude. And speaking of managers, what is Audiatar doing? Conor McGregor's manager needs to take Conor McGregor's phone away. To get into a little bit of the aftermath, another thing, it was odd to me how unaffected people in the media and just in general seem to be by the visual of the leg break. It's a lot for me. I don't know. When I was in 7th grade, I accidentally broke my best friend Tyson's leg at football. And maybe it's just more for me than it is for other people. But, dude, leg breaks get me. I don't know. Odd. Mentally, I thought Poirier and Conor were kind of just playing a different game. They were no longer, like, Poirier was no longer participating. He just wasn't playing. And it pissed Conor off. And it made Conor's vitriol reach new heights because he was, I think, trying to convince himself. He was trying to go there. He was trying to be that guy again. And, you know, maybe that guy doesn't exist anymore. Maybe you got to, if he's going to keep doing this, he's got to find a different way to do it. And I think he also needs to find, I'm not a mental health professional, but I think he needs to find like a therapist. Or he needs to have somebody in his life that he can, because the guy's clearly got some demons, man. Like, he took this some places. And do I think that he took this to like a worse place than normal? Yeah, maybe in the last couple days, yes. But the rest of the time really wasn't any different. I think it was the losing. And then he broke his leg, and then that's traumatizing in and of itself. The whole thing is just a mess. He is probably on pain meds. Audie's got to take his phone away, man. Oh, man. What is interesting to me, and I have it written down as, it's not about fair weather fandom per se, but it's like we didn't care that Conor was saying this stuff, because Conor said just as bad, if not worse, things to people in the past plenty. And not to say he hasn't had people that like were like, he probably shouldn't do that, but not like it is now. And the only difference is what? He's not winning fights, dude. He's not starching people. That's it. That's the only difference. I don't get it. And again, I'm not trying to sympathize Conor. He's a grown man. He can do what he wants. He can say what he wants. And I'm not going to defend things that I think that he said that, are indefensible. I would never do that. It's ridiculous. But he said a lot of this stuff before, and we didn't care. We laughed. We retweeted it. Like, if you're a Conor McGregor fan, which I would say most people that are into MMA that are around my age or like a little younger or a little older, you're probably a Conor McGregor fan, or you were at one point a Conor McGregor fan. So you supported this, man. Like, we're culpable. We built this monster, man. And I'm not saying you have to like hang with him or whatever or support his, but to be like, fuck this guy, he deserved it. That's like real things that I read on Twitter. He deserved that. He deserved to have his leg snapped because he said some nonsense. The same nonsense he's been saying for a decade. Really? He deserved to have his leg snapped. And maybe career over with. That's a tough take, man. I don't know. It feels like nobody can really have a reasonable take when it comes to Conor McGregor. And that's tough. Maybe I can't even. I think I can. I think I have one of the more unbiased opinions about Conor of people that I know. I think. And I used to love Conor. And I still love things about what his run in the sport meant. He changed the landscape forever. I mean, he did. Love him or hate him, he made it better to be an MMA fighter. That's undeniable. And, yeah, I don't know what that means. I don't know where he goes. I don't know what he does. I don't even know what I want. I thought that I wanted him to retire now, but now I'm just like, I don't know. I'm kind of agnostic on the whole Conor McGregor experience. Jeddah has a wonderful analogy that I'll say for the show, that I think is incredibly accurate for, at least in an ideal scenario, how the rest of Conor McGregor's kind of adult life plays out. Because I just don't know that he'll be the competitor I just don't know if that he has it anymore. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he comes back and looks awesome. I hope he stops threatening people's families and saying crazy shit on the internet, man, because that's not fun. What are we at? 25 minutes? That's probably good. Okay, well, don't miss this week's episode. It should be very interesting. I've talked to Ryan a little bit since the fight. Well, obviously watched the fight with him. So, but the three of us haven't yet because Jeddah wasn't over. So it's gonna be a lot of like raw Ryan. Who knows, man? I don't know. You never know with Ryan Carroll. Love you, buddy. Yeah, that's all I got. Don't miss this week's episode. And subscribe and like and comment and all the stuff. Cool. Peace.